Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London, and today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Globe Law and Business. It's a book in a number of important business areas. This one is arbitration of M&A transactions, merger and acquisition transactions. It's a practical guide. It's now been produced in a second edition because it's a popular work, and the consulting editor of the book is Edward Poulton. Now, Elizabeth and I looked at the book and we had a fairly substantial chat about it. And for our title for the book review, we've given it this title: Where Arbitration Meets the Law, International Perspectives on M&A Transactions, with a foreword from Lord HOFFMANN. Do have a look at our review on the web and in the journals, because this is an important book, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the book in a minute. Let's look at it first of all. It's a hardback. There we go. Very much the house style. You can see the way they publish the book. There's the title, then there is the spine, and then there's a bit of blurb on the back. Obviously it's set out a bit, so maybe a bit difficult to read. It's a hardback, and it runs to quite a few pages actually, well over 500 pages. At the back, it's a slightly different structure from some law books we have. There's some detail about Globe Law right at the back, which is also very helpful. And then, of course, they also have some information about the special reports which they produce, which we also review from time to time, some of which are very useful. Then there are related titles to this work, which is obviously on arbitration specifically. You can see some of the other areas that they cover from the books there. Now, there's no actual blurb in terms of an index, but there is at the back, the way it's the house style of this book is to deal with the authors of this particular work, of which there are a large number. I can't go into each individual author. Obviously the general editor is Edward Poulton, but there are a large number of people who've been involved in this work. And then at the back you can see the structure. You've got some numbering at the side and you've got footnoting. If we go to the front of the book, you can again see very much the house structure. That's how the front page looks, like that and then like that. And then after that you've got some blurb about Globe, and then you've got the table of contents. And what you've got, of course, is the names of the people who have been responsible for each of the chapters. Very much, again, an editing job and specific contributions from individuals. And there's a foreword by Lord Lenny HOFFMANN right at the beginning, which is there. You can just see that setting out. The foreword appeared in the first edition, which came out in 2014. Then there's an introduction from Edward about the book itself. He actually starts off with a quote from a comment from Benjamin Franklin. And then you've got various countries which are covered: Austria, the Netherlands, and so forth, running all the way through. And you can see, for instance, that here there's pre-signing disputes, for instance, which are covered. Claims for breach of indemnities. You've got a very wide range of important points, which I'm sure will be of very great use to people involved in M&A matters, transactions we call them, but in fact wider matters. So what do we say about the book? Well, it's very much up to the standards that we've come to expect from Globe Law and Business, and I'm very grateful to all involved, that's Sean O'Neill and Nicola Hornby and all the other staff who've been involved. But we say this: lawyers as well as arbitrators should lose no time in acquiring this book. It's out now in a new edition, it's a second edition, from Globe Law and Business, and it should ideally be considered essential reading for anybody who is dealing professionally with mergers and acquisitions transactions. And we think lawyers in particular will be interested in the fact that many of the articles on the subject covered are written by the leading lawyers practising internationally from leading law firms such as, and I'll name them, Baker McKenzie, Herbert, Freehills, and Allen and Overy, to name but a few. And, quote, drawing on their extensive experience, says consulting editor Edward Poulton, each of the authors has sought to derive some general themes and lessons, and that's basically what one is getting here. And as many have come to expect from Globe Law, the book provides us as readers with pertinent, accurate and authoritative advice from 35 expert contributors, mentioned of course by name at the back with their short CVs, and it covers 17 countries, just to name a few: Austria, China and Hong Kong, and France, for example, through to Sweden, Turkey, and of course the United States of America. So what you're getting here is a wealth of high-powered consultancy on offer in one handy volume. Yes, this book's a compilation, and we say a valuable one, especially for practitioners involved in cross-border issues. And as mentioned in the book's introduction, quote, the increasingly international nature of mergers and acquisitions means that the relative and arguably growing ease with which arbitration awards can be enforced around the world is a reasonable, or rather a real, advantage. And I think that's an important point because of the global nature of what we're now doing. And of course London tends to be very much at the centre of quite a large number of the arbitration awards which are being made. And it's also worth pointing out, I suggest, that in the article on England and Wales, that given the often complex, specialised, cross-border and sensitive nature of many M&A transactions, the problem we have here is that arbitration is often viewed as the most preferable forum in which to resolve disputes arising from some such transactions. In other words, rather than going to a full court, they're going to arbitration, and that's very much what is happening in this area in the 21st century. But there is a cautionary note that has to be struck here, however, that in England and Wales, an arbitration clause should be drafted as widely as possible to catch all intended disputes, and that certain disputes will not be capable of being referred to arbitration under English law. And of course that is something that we have to bear in mind. Nonetheless, as Globe points out, arbitration is now becoming the dispute resolution mechanism of choice for international mergers and acquisitions transactions, ranging from share purchase agreements to joint venture arrangements and of course much more. The book, says Lord Hoffmann in the foreword, and I know it's from the original 2014 version, but it's still relevant, is, quote, is well worth reading for anyone who is interested in arbitration, but for lawyers involved in M&A transactions, in an M&A transaction, it will need to be consulted as soon as the first instructions arrive. And I think that again is shows the importance of the book and why it's now in the new second edition. And the date of publication is cited as at the early part of 2020, and I'm recording this in the spring. Let's just have one last look at the book. There it is again, the front. Let me just get it up. That's that way. Then you've got the spine, and then you've got the bit on the back. Probably, as I say, you can't really make out the blurb. I'll come back a little bit with it, but you can't really see too much of it because of the inverse colour. This is the middle of the book, pre-closing disputes. That's a subject. This one's written by Julian Overy, and you can see again there's the numbering at the sides and the footnoting. And as I say, you don't have, the only thing that's a drawback possibly, you've got the detail about the authors at the back of course, but you don't have an index. It just ends with the particular chapter, and you can see the structure, again, dealing with the countries and then dealing specifically with, in part 2, the arbitration agreement itself and all the various bits and pieces. So it's well structured, and you should find what you're looking for reasonably quickly. Anyway, a very big word of thanks to Globe for producing the new edition. It will be of great benefit to M&A people, and I'd like to thank everybody who's been involved in this very much for the new edition. Thank you to all. Bye-bye.